Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and it is August 14th, and it's 9:19 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to pick up from where we left off with the Q post. Now, I did not upload a video yesterday, and you're probably going like, yeah, I know. So we're going to cover yesterday's today, and in a separate video, we are going to cover today's August 14th. So we're going to start with the 13th. And hopefully I got enough whatever to be able to do two videos. Not sure. Don't have it all together tonight. I know you're thinking, when do you ever have it all together? Well, okay, you caught me. I don't ever have it all together. But let's get started with this regardless. So this is the first post from the 13th, and I'm going to go out to the source because it's a little bit clearer and easier to read. Not that you're going to really want to read it. No, really, you won't. All right. It is a good find, though, by the person that posted it. They found it on Jordan Sather's Twitter page, and here we go. This person says, unbelievable, and this is the Great Awakening board, in case you weren't aware. Unbelievable. I was reading a tweet from Jordan Sather and saw this posted from a response. I looked up Rainn Wilson and found he and his wife's foundation in Haiti for disadvantaged girls. No more coincidences, are there? Well, that's interesting. And, you know, normally if you knew that he had a foundation in Haiti, you might not think too much about it if it weren't for these tweets below. So we're going to have a look at that. Rainn Wilson, of course, is the actor that plays Dwight on The Office. I'm not sure what, if anything else, he plays in, but that is, I think, his most memorable role anyway. Now, look at some of these tweets. What about human baby meat? Return tweet. What should I eat for dinner? I am thinking pasta. And I guess that was at Heidi Montag. Heidi Montag. Told you, don't have it together today. Not sure what's happening. And here, joke. How many clowns does it take to screw in a light bulb? Answer, 12. 1 to screw it in and 11 to kidnap and chew on human babies. All right. And he says here, little concerned this morning, found blood in my urine. Well, not my urine, the baby urine I wash my hair with. And if you punish, this one is particularly, well, they're all unsavory. I shouldn't even say that it's particularly because it's not. They're all bad. If you want to punish a teenager, simply take away their cell phone and sodomize them with it. All right. The Catholic Church should set up a program where all the abused little kids are allowed to molest the priests. I drained the blood out of a goth kid. Does that make me a goth by proxy? And I think he means sacrifice. I don't know what he means, because here he says scarification. I would have thought he meant ritual sacrifice, but actually now that I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking about the whole Nexium thing, maybe he did intend it exactly how he said it. That it's a beautiful day for the ritual scarification of a virgin. Originally I thought, oh, he probably means sacrifice, but yeah, I guess it just jumped into my head, all the, how Nexium likes to carve their little scars or their little brand. They do the branding on their victims. So anyway, now these are very, very small, and let me see. Oh, okay. Someone responded to that and said, you are disgusting. How could you say such a thing on here? There are children that follow you. And then he responded to that by saying, they're just so plush. And he says, I would totally F a Muppet. Someday I will feast on the human hands of the Swedish chef. Yeah, I don't find that these are funny. I love dark humor, I really do, but there's dark humor and then there's way over the line. And these are over the line. So I think that, in some of the responses, we're not going to go through all these, but it says, who in the world talks about chewing human babies? Even if he was trying to make a joke, who jokes about stuff like that? Well, no one I know, but, there's obviously some, because he's, posting them. He doesn't think that there's anything wrong with it. He's not worried about his job at working, as an actor, obviously. Now, if Roseanne had said something like this, what would happen? What would happen if Roseanne started joking about things like that? Well, I don't know. They've done enough to her. They've ruined her career. So I don't know. They'd probably tie her to a stake and burn her. I don't know. And I like this response. From the outflow of a man's mouth, the heart speaks. Jesus Christ. And he did say that. And it's Matthew 12:34. So anyway, we're not going to get into all of these, but let's go back anyway to Q. So Q is asking us, normal? Well, I would just about say that probably, I would say 100%, but there may be a few strange people listening to this. I don't know. So let's say 99% of you would say, no, that is not normal at all. And of course, that's where I am, in the 99%. Now, interestingly enough, Q takes us back to this, which we looked at on the last video. We had this, led us out to NBC News, where they're instructing people how to delete old tweets. How to delete old tweets before they come back to haunt you. Well, my guess is that Rainn Wilson wishes that he had deleted his old tweets. Or maybe not. Let's see when these were posted, actually. They were 2010, 2009, 2011, 10. So these were quite a while ago. But yeah, the latest ones are from 2011. I'm not sure if he's been posting anything like this recently or not, because we are getting this from someone else, from their Twitter. They obviously collected them. And I don't know. There could be more. But it's coincidental that NBC has this, how to delete old tweets before they come back to haunt you. Too late. Rainn Phillips. Where did that come from? Anyway, let's go back to Q. And he says, the more you know, Q. So, let's continue on. And we're moving up to here. And let's look at what's here. So we've seen these two side by side many, many times. One is the German, it's the 1933 paramilitary wing of the Communist Party of Germany. And then we have the one for the anti-fascist action, Antifa. And that's the 2017 paramilitary wing of the Democratic Party of Canada. And really, the anti-fascists are a paramilitary wing, I would say. Now, if you turn this backwards and flip it horizontally, you've got the same thing, really. You've got the words up here, down here. You've got a circle here. Same width, really. You could probably, flip this and put it on top of this, and it would be very, very similar, extremely similar. You've got the two flags here, so, it's really the same thing. Fake news equals the enemy of the people. Now, that is pretty straightforward. I don't think any of us would argue with that. If all directions of the echo chamber, mainstream media, state the same thing, even if fiction or false, do most people then consider it true and factual? Yeah. And of course, you repeat a lie enough and people will believe it. So that's what they are. They're just an echo chamber for the thoughts of the Democratic Party. And it just gets out there. It's like it's in a big empty drum rolling around, echoing. And you hear the exact same thing. It is like that. If you just flip channels, like to news channels, one after another, they'll all be saying just about the same thing with a few variations and, of course, different inflections depending on the news personality that's reading it, but it's all the same words and all the same meanings. So, yeah, if they're all saying the same thing, and it's even if it's false, most people still consider it true. And I know that. I have proof of that. And so do you. Because I am quite sure that in the course of your day, you are running into people that don't believe as you do politically, ideologically, religiously, or any other way. And, the people that have not been red-pilled, so to speak, will just start parroting back to you what the news says. If you tell them that you believe, in Q or whatever, they will just start parroting back to you. Oh, well, that's a conspiracy, And most people still think there was Russian collusion. At least most people here, where I am. You can't even tell the people here it's bad. Because they just laugh at you and actually become extremely cruel, as in you need help. So Q says direct communication is critical. Who controls the fake news? Well, we already know that. It's, the CIA, really. And, we're only hearing one side, the Democratic side of the news. We don't hear the conservative side at all. Now, why is Antifa allowed to incite violence, wear masks, make threats, carry weapons, and physically harm others who oppose their ideology? Well, I can assure you that if that was us out there and we were wearing Q t-shirts and had our Make America Great hats on and we were out there and we were inciting violence, what do you think would happen? I think that we would be jailed. I think it would be all over the news. I think it would be world news. I think that they would make us out to be the worst people on the face of the earth. I can just imagine. Oh my gosh. And honestly, quite honestly, I think to myself, how long is it going to be before they do that? Pretty cheap to get a Make America Great hat and a Q t-shirt, and immediately you will be pegged as a Q follower, even if you're not. So how long will it be? It's probably happening right now. Anyway, why is Antifa allowed to incite violence? Well, it's because of the side they're on, and they're funded by Soros and the left. So the left, the left-leaning media, left-leaning, yeah, they're leaning. They've fallen all the way over to the left. They're not going to demonize it as they would and should if it was us. Well, I mean, they would and should, either side, but you get what I'm talking about. Why does Antifa attempt to justify such violence by labeling the challenger as alt-right or Nazi? Well, because you know what? These guys, and I know that from being in an organization that was very much part of the, I guess, I hate to say Illuminati because it's just bigger than that. But anyway, they did the same thing. Whatever they were preaching about at the time, that's what they themselves were involved in. And that happens all the time. It's called projection. And you project onto others what you are doing yourself. You know, like when a husband accuses a wife of cheating, and all the while he's chasing every skirt that comes along, but he's pointing at you and accusing you of cheating when that hasn't even entered into your heart. That's projection, and that's what they do. And that's how they justify the violence, because anybody that opposes them, they just put the label on them that belongs, they put the label on those opposing them, the label that they deserve themselves. So, anyway, why does Antifa attempt to justify, okay, we just said that, and we shouldn't say it again. I told you, I don't have it together tonight, and if I did have it all together, not sure where I'd put it. But anyway, why does, see, this is the third time I've tried to read this. Third time I've tried to read it. Well, I read it once, and then two more times I've tried to read it again. So let's go on from there. I'm talking to myself now. I'm speaking quite forcefully to myself. Why doesn't the left condone such acts of violence and call for an immediate end? I think instead of condone, I think Q meant condemn. Why doesn't the left condemn? But he may have done that as a play on words, because they don't actually condemn, they condone. Why doesn't the left condemn such acts of violence and call for an immediate end? That's what I would think that it should say and how it should read, but instead they condone these acts of violence. And they're not calling for an end, immediate end to it. Why should they? It serves their purpose. Define projection. We just did define projection. Define insurance policy. Well, it's an insurance policy like he's talking about is no different than an insurance policy on your car. You know, if things don't go as planned, you know, and you happen to rear end somebody, it's, you know, you're covered. And their insurance policy, you know, let's take the insurance policy with Trump. You know, they all believed there was no possible way he could get in, but they had to have an insurance policy just in case. So here, you know, insurance policy as he's talking about right here is the same thing, I would assume. They define warning against attempts to unveil. Well, I don't really know what he means by define. I think we know what warnings are against attempts to unveil. Unveil what? Well, unveil the swamp, because there's so many things to unveil, there'd be too many things to list. And they have an insurance policy against these things being unveiled. They prey on emotionally unstable, helpless individuals and use them as pawns. Now, let's take a look here at the link he gave us. FBI probe of Antifa ideology underway, Ray tells House panel. Remember, Q used to call him rays of light. Rays of light. W-R-A-Y-S of light. And it's interesting because I think that that will be revisited. Hang on here. Let's look at this. So it's good that Fox News, at least, is reporting. Just closing some of these down here, and to give us a little bit more juice. Now, so they prey on emotionally unstable, helpless individuals and use them as pawns. What does Ray know, and when will he release to the public? Does such violence, extremism justify National Guard deployment in the future ahead of planned public releases? Well, I would say yes, because I don't think that is a question. According to how Q generally behaves, his questions are generally statements. So the statement would be, such violence, extremism justifies National Guard deployment in the future ahead of planned public releases, which we know are coming up, and they are planned. So I think that he is telling us that the National Guard will be deployed, and we'll see how that'll be paid for in a minute. All right, let's go to here. This is the next link that he is sending us to. Left-wing Antifa terrorists freaking out over proposed unmasking law. And this is generally, that would pretty much sum up the entire attitude of Antifa. The left-wing terrorist organization that calls itself Antifa is freaking out over a proposed law that would enhance penalties for anyone who injures, oppresses, threatens, or intimidates any person while wearing a disguise or mask. Throughout our country and for a number of years now, and primarily because the establishment media fantasizes about, promotes, inflames, and approves of the violence committed against the right, naturally, Huffington Post opposes the unmasking law. Antifa has been allowed to run rampant, committing countless acts of violence against everyday peaceful supporters of President Donald Trump. Antifa has also been responsible for untold amounts of vandalism and property damage, and targets the alt-right. The Unmasking Antifa Act of 2018 can mean additional fines and prison terms of up to 15 years. The Hill reports the bill was introduced by Republican Rep. Dan Donovan and is co-sponsored by GOP reps Pete King, Paul Gosar, and Ted Budd. Ironically, this proposed law is similar to laws passed decades ago in states like Georgia and Alabama to stop another terrorist group formed by far-left Democrats, the Ku Klux Klan. According to the far left, New York Times, Ohio, and West Virginia already have similar laws on the books. Unless it is Halloween, Mardi Gras, or some other kind of celebration, there is no legitimate reason to disguise who you are in public unless you intend to do something illegal and do not wish to be identified. And since our establishment media chose to encourage, stroke, dismiss, foment, downplay, and excuse harassment, violence, and property damage against Trump supporters, since the media are normalizing and even making heroes of violent left-wing thugs, it is important that law enforcement have the tools necessary to stop this epidemic of lawlessness. Nevertheless, people are still freaking out. Carmichael Monaco, a member of the Metropolitan Anarchist Coordinating Council, a New York City-based activist group, told Vice Tuesday, the unmasking law takes a pro-fascist stance in its very name and doubtlessly in its enforcement. In the current political climate, anti-fascists who speak out against fascism, racism, xenophobia are routinely harassed, threatened, and attacked by the far right, often supported by the police, who are notably exempted here. Families and friends of anti-fascists also become targets of far-right violence. The wearing of a mask is an act of self-defense, often necessary to ensure one's right to free speech. Now, in anything that you have ever seen on TV or in the news or on the internet, people doing YouTube videos that are actually there. Have you ever seen the right attacking them? No. They defend themselves, or they attempt to defend themselves, but I've never seen anyone go after them. Now, I could be wrong. I'm just saying I have never seen it. So isn't this a form of projection? Aren't they projecting onto the alt-right what they themselves are doing? Of course. Anyway, let's continue. It's a law that threatens to clamp down on direct action politics more broadly. I think it sets a disturbing precedent. Mark Bray, a professor at Dartmouth who studies human rights and radical politics, told Vice. No examples of Antifa being victims or targets are cited anywhere in the Vice piece, but here are 352 and counting verified acts of violence and harassment against Trump supporters, much of it committed by Antifa terrorists wearing masks. And I guess we would have to go to his Facebook page, which we're not going to do. I'm not going to go down through 352 verified acts, but I do believe it. I have no trouble believing that. So let's go back. And let's look at the next link that he provides. And this is We the People, Your Voice in the White House, formerly recognized Antifa as a terrorist organization created by M.A. on August 17th, 2017, and it's a petition. And down below it says, thank you for your petition requesting that Antifa be formally recognized as a terrorist organization. President Donald J. Trump has repeatedly said that hatred and violence have no place in America. Our country must unite in condemning violence and recognize that the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together are stronger than the wicked forces trying to divide us. Although federal law provides a mechanism to designate and sanction foreign terrorist organizations and foreign state sponsors of terrorism, there is currently no analogous mechanism for formally designating domestic terrorist organizations. Excuse me. 1 second. Nonetheless, law enforcement has many tools at its disposal to address violent criminals and groups. The Department of Justice routinely charges violent individuals of all types with a variety of offenses, including arson, threats, fraud, tax violations, hate crimes, murder, and offenses related to the misuse or illegal possession of firearms and explosives. Thank you again for contacting the White House. It says that there's currently no analogous mechanism for formally designating domestic terrorist organizations. Well, I'd say that there needs to be. There needs to be. But anyway, let's continue. And below, he says military spending bill. Smile for the camera. Cue. Now, I do believe that there's a little bit more to those two lines than meets the eye, but I'm not sure. Actually, I just thought about it as I'm, looking at it, because it's military spending bill, smile for the camera. He capitalizes camera, which, as we know, Q doesn't generally make mistakes. Everything is for a reason. Military spending bill is capitalized. I could see that being capitalized, but smile for the camera, MSBSC. Not sure, but that's something that I'd like to keep an eye on there, because I wonder, there's something else there. I don't know what it is, but there's something else there. And if any of you know, please leave it in the comments below. All right, let's continue. Now, this is distasteful. Let's go all the way up to the top. Okay, we are at the top. Now, let's look at this first. So we have the The 2016 Trump Tower meeting looks increasingly like a setup by Russian and Clinton operatives. Well, isn't that interesting? Evidence suggests the infamous Trump Tower meeting with Russia was a giant setup to disparage the Trump campaign. Note, the story was originally featured in RealClearInvestigations.com. The June 2016 Trump Tower meeting between high-ranking members of the Republican presidential campaign staff and Russian lawyer with Kremlin ties remains the cornerstone of claims that Donald Trump colluded with Russia to steal the election. Now, here's something I don't understand. Riddle me this, Batman. Okay. They say the left claims that Trump colluded with Russia, right? But then they say, okay, you know what? I've lost my thought there. Never mind. I'm telling you, I don't have it together today, and I can't get the thought formulated in my brain to get it out. And so I'm just going to go on and sort of try to save face, which, you know, doesn't even work for me. Anyway, so it's interesting that this is now in the mainstream. This is coming out in the mainstream. And of course, this is sarahcarter.com. But this is starting to come out. And I saw the article on Yahoo. An article like this on Yahoo. That it was Clinton all along. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is Yahoo? Really? Yep, Yahoo News. Yahoo. Okay. So, you know, we've got Sarah that comes out with this. And then, let's go down. We've got this, you know, comparing her to Bill Maher, comparing her to the Planet of the Apes, which seems to be fine for him, but not for Roseanne. Anyway, for those who said I was way off comparing Mishel Bachmann at debate on Wednesday with Planet of the Apes, yeah. And then they said, at Sean Hannity, Q says, at Sean Hannity, at Fox News, at The Real Roseanne, do not let this hypocrisy stand. Fight. Much more coming. Q. Now, it's odd that she put this up here, or that Q made reference to this. I guess what he's saying is that you know, because this stuff is starting to come out now, we're getting more of this. I don't know, because I think that's an old Bill Maher post, if you ask me. I'm not sure when it was, but let me see. Let's I'm getting discombobulated here, and I want to see something. I want to see the original on here, and as you can see, Q is posting a lot. Here we go. Okay, here it is. All right. That's, okay. Now I see what's happened. You know what? I worry about myself. I really worry about myself. Because I was thinking to myself, Mishel, these two things do not go together. You know, kind of like one of these things just doesn't belong here. Well, they don't belong together because they're two separate posts. So we've got the Mishel Bachmann post, and Q is pointing out to the news media, Sean Hannity, Fox News, The Real Roseanne, do not let this hypocrisy stand. Fight. Much more coming. And it is hypocrisy. And of course, he's just letting The Real Roseanne know that, hey, look at this. Why isn't this person being called out? Well, we all know why. Then the next one was the one that we originally went out to, that the Trump Tower meeting looks increasingly like a setup by Russian and Clinton operatives. And of course, how long have we known this? Well, Q started last October, and it was not that long afterward that we knew that there was no Russian collusion. So we've known for a long time, but it's now coming out in the media. Now, not just Sarah Carter. I saw it on, well, I told you, I saw it on Yahoo News. So there you go. And there you are. All right. Okay, so here, this is August 14th, so I'm going to split there, and it's good because I'm telling you, I apologize for this post. I don't know, I just don't have it together today. Just saying, don't have it together today. So I will cut it off there, not literally, and what I'll do is I'm going to start working on the 14th, and I'm going to try to upload it tonight if I can get a little bit more with it. And we'll call it a night there, and hope you guys have a good one and stay safe.